October to discuss, we talked that, you know, this preliminary concept plan, we paid for it, and we've never actually taken action on it. So that's why I worked with the county attorney last week to try to get this on the agenda item. And the options, it's been on the website. Currently, I don't know if it's on there or not. The options that we had in this, just for review, option one was a 60-bed law enforcement courtroom renovation on the existing site, which is the precaution plan. There's option two, new 60-bed justice center on Greenville site. There's no site selection. Cost would be on based on what the site was going to be. Option three, we've been doing that for the last year and a half, is to maintain the current facility and transport. And that's what we have been doing. So we had, one of the reasons we did not go right away was to have hard numbers on where those numbers would be. We have those numbers now. And option four was to close and transport. I did do a little research of my own. I talked to Rob. We met one day here. We met down to Douglas County to talk about housing down there. They estimated that they would want $90 a day. That would only give us enough with our current budget of $1,200,000 for 36 inmates. So option four was never really an option discussed by the jail committee or brought forth. The recommendation of the Prohaska preliminary concept plan was the following. It was following the study of all four options. It is apparent option one is the best long-term, most financially feasible solution for Washington County. I also today I made copies of that option one. There should be several in the room with the option one, since that's the only one that I'm talking about. I'm going to make copies of all the other options. Again, I brought this forward because this is a study done by mostly board members on this current board with the knowledge. And with that, I don't know if you want to take any further on this, but my motion would be to concur with the preliminary concept plan of option one. Building on site is the most financially feasible solution for future inmate housing in Washington County, to concur with what the Prohaska study is. That's what I have to say, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, is that in form of a motion?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I make a motion to object to the consideration of the question on 2 counts. Not all board members have been provided full disclosure of the information by the chairman on items pertaining to the vote. And over half the current board will not remain on the board after this meeting to bring the action forward, thus the next board should cast the vote. An objection to the consideration of question calls for no debate and vote.
Is there a second on your objection?
Doesn't need a second.
Doesn't need one?
No, sir.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I would like to, Lisa's been here for 2 years, right?
Mr. Chairman, an objection does not allow for debate. It has to be voted on.
So we're going to,
We're voting on the objection.
Correct.
An affirmative vote would uphold the objection, and
Correct.
a negative vote would let the objection be dissolved.
Correct.
We'll proceed to vote on the objection. The yes vote will uphold the objection. The no vote will take the objection away.
Okay, 2 people voted yes, Sirio and Kramer, 5 voted no. So the objection did not carry.
Mr. Chairman,
Lisa,
I make a motion that we table until the new board has been seated.
we already have a motion on the floor.
A table supersedes that, sir.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor to table till the next meeting. And an affirmative vote will uphold that motion, a negative, or no vote will defeat that motion.
that'll keep this
Oh,
clear.
sorry. members voting yes, Serio and Kramer, 5 no. The motion does not carry.
Okay. We still have a motion on the floor. And I'll offer a suggestion. We have a lot of people in the audience. If anybody wants to make a comment, I will let you come up and make a comment. But because of the size of the audience, depending on how many comments, I'm going to limit it to 3 minutes, okay? So anybody want to, in the audience?
You want to restate the motion, Mr. Chairman, so everybody knows what we're talking about?
Yeah, the motion by Kruger, second by Heinlein, was to concur with Prohaska's original finding, which was following the study of all 4 options, the current option 1 is the best long-term, most financially feasible solution for Washington County. That being to, option 1 being the 60-bed law enforcement center and courtroom renovations on the existing site. Anybody from the audience?
Brad Brick, WRICH, 9071 County Road P35, Blair. My understanding that we're having trouble finding a piece of property to build on, and I've got a piece I wanted to present to you that I think would be an excellent place to build a new facility. And, sure to take a look at it. Printed out some maps here, right here on the south edge of Blair. Currently, it's 24 acres.
Is this currently on the market, sir?
Yes, it has been. I don't know what my real estate agent has been doing or anything, but I've just learned through the paper and
Mr. Chairman, did the site selection committee consider this property?
I have not seen that on the market. And I give the property, Mary Ellis can answer that. Also, that when I did my searches, this was not on the market.
How long has it been on the market, Mr. Ritchie?
I've been trying to sell it for a couple of years now.
Who has it listed?
NP Dodge. I don't know whether my current contract is still valid or not, but
Local MP now?
local NP Dodge. It's right on the south edge, has utilities available. Like I said, there's 24 acres in that piece. It's accessible behind, up Maple Drive, behind the Sonic Lodge. Runs towards the top of the hill there. 2 dead-end streets. City water line runs on my property, hooks South 16th Street down to Maple Drive. I believe it's a 10-inch main, maybe 12-inch, I don't recall.
Is that a level site, or is that kind of a hill?
Well, it's kind of a hill up there to the top is fairly steep down there right off at the end of Maple Drive is fairly level. I mean, it's, it'll need some dirt work, but there's plenty of dirt to be moved around there. And maybe into, you know, how many acres you're needing or what,
5 to 6, right, Mr. Chairman?
That's what Prohaska said.
This would have access from Highway 75 and 30 with the new bypass.
that it would not go over to the new bypass, but,
Be accessible
yeah, to get accessible.
through there.
No, you really don't want access to those open bypasses when you go through with it.
What's that?
Who knows on the bypass?
Well, that actually depends on whether they, and if it's 4 lanes, they probably won't get any easements off.
That hill's gonna come down 9 feet.
Still looks like a feasible location.
So you don't know that you have an active listing on it right now?
I don't know, but I don't need one if you want to draw up something like it.
It is active. Mike Anderson, it's active. I contacted MP Dodge. It's an active property listed with MP Dodge locally.
Like I say, I've been trying to sell it for a couple of years. didn't know if we had renewed the contract with County County, I don't know. But I renewed how long it went, so.
What's the size of the parcel?
That piece there is 23.9 acres. But if you need to change the size or you want to buy the whole thing and have future growth, great.
Yeah, the one thing I see is the only access is through a residential area.
Currently.
South 16th Street dead ends to it with a cul-de-sac up there and Maple Drive. Right up alongside of the Masonic Lodge there was a cul-de-sac. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Brad.
Mr. Chairman, Mike Anderson, A-N-D-E-R-S-O-N, 12122 County Road, P30, Blair, Nebraska. I had the pleasure of serving this board, appointed me along with, I think about 20 other folks onto the jail committee, so I think I'm pretty knowledgeable about this subject. Last Friday, in 10 minutes' time, making 2 phone calls, I found 3 properties, all had city sewer, city water on them. I contacted the owners, Mr. Rick being one of them. None of them have been contacted or an offer made or any contact by the site selection committee on about this property. In addition to the 23-acre property you see there, sitting right next to it is an 18-acre property that no one has contacted that. And it's also, sir, I don't know the name of the owner. It's listed at MP Dodd. I don't have those documents with me. In addition to that, 1/2 mile south of this property, all around Walmart, I contacted the owners of that land. No one from the site selection committee has contacted them and asked them about purchasing their land. Their land is on the market. It is listed with Lamb Real Estate in Omaha, Nebraska. I contacted Lamb Real Estate. This is still within the 10-minute time frame. They emailed me a packet on that property. There's a 46 or 48-acre piece out there that the party has moved all the dirt on and has city sewer cul-de-sacs. They are very eager to sell that land. They read in the paper that there's no property available in Blair, and they were incensed by that. I kind of thought maybe they'd be here today, but maybe they're a little busy raising family or something. So they were quite upset that no one had contacted them. I believe that it is my personal belief here that the board is pursuing an agenda rather than doing what's best for the county in the long term here. As a member of the jail committee, we voted unanimously after studying this for numerous weeks. I mean, I don't know, 8, 10 weeks or maybe longer, I don't know. And we voted unanimously to go with a off-site site, greenfield site, because it was a long-term best interest for the county. If you decide to build that on this property here, all the mature trees around this county building are going to get cut down with the exception of probably 3 of them out here on the northwest side. You just entertained the notion of putting it on a cornfield west of Blair, and from what I understand, there was 170 people said no. I can assure you that if the people around this neighborhood knew that you were going to change forever the look of this county courthouse, they would be here in droves telling you not to do it. And I can assure you that if you do that, they will be here in droves, because I will knock on every damn door within 3 blocks of here to let them know. Because people, again, are too busy living their life. I feel that this county board has had ample time to make a decision on this. And I believe that coming here, last meeting, for several of these board members, and to, in my opinion, cram this baby in, I think is a very poor decision for the Washington County for this to happen.
Mike, two things. We're not cramming anything in. We've been trying to get this on the agenda and trying to do something for quite some time.
So I respectfully disagree with that.
Okay, that's your opinion. The other situation is that we had 176 petition signers on Highway 91. How many petition signers do you think there will be on this neighborhood south of Blair?
Well, I can't answer the question on that piece
Well,
of
you gave me
property.
assurances on everything else. Give me some assurance on this.
What assurances did I give you? I assured you that I found those properties in 10 minutes.
No, you assured me that you're gonna have a whole bunch of people come in here and say that they don't want it on the jail, on the
Well,
existing site.
if that's what I said, and it's being recorded off, that nobody amend that, I can assure you that they will know that what's gonna happen here, okay? I will tell you that. I don't know, but I would imagine that you would have some objections to that.
Mr. Chairman, we can't possibly know if we don't even seek out this option.
When the site selection committee made a recommendation on a piece of property west of Blair, that was a chance that it was gonna be focused on that piece, and that allowed the neighborhood to take action. I don't believe that there's been any publicized notice that it was what's gonna happen to this property. I've seen the drawings. The whole north side of this property is going to be a parking lot. The building is gonna go, we're gonna move this tower, which is $250,000 expense that doesn't need to happen if we go off-site. The building's gonna go to the sidewalk. The building, as Prohaska has explained it to us, it's going to go right up to the sidewalk, which, by the way, I can't do at my house. But for somehow, Prohaska claims that they can do it at the county board. You have to have a setback, but for some reason, they're gonna be able to pull it off here. I don't know why, but they will. But to have that building there, no one on this board, no one at Prohaska, no one anywhere could answer the range.
And 45 as this morning. Over the weekend, we had 48 in jail.
So if I happen to be unfortunate here and then end up walking out here in handcuffs, then I would be your maximum inmate for your jail. So you're not building a jail for 10 to 20 years at 60 beds here. You're building one for this year, because that's what we're housing right now. You're allowing absolutely no expansion on the current site. This will forever be a jail on this site, forever. And what will happen is, when you need more room, you will be moving county services out of this building and building more jail cells on this building, because moving county services and offices is gonna be a lot cheaper than it will be to move inmates, because you're gonna be married to this ground right here.
And I'm gonna have to ask you.
Thank you.
Mike, I can give my 3 minutes if you'd like to continue.
No, I'm fine.
My name is Juan Alfonso. I'm a resident of Blair. I live at 13342 State Highway 91. And simple question, what is the point of the vote? What's the point of voting right now? I read the text, I see where it says concur or do not concur. But my question is, what's the point? What definition of concur are you using?
The point of my motion here is that we have this study here, we've never voted on this study. And do we agree with the study? So the agreement is with the study that yes, that their statement is, the following study of all 4 options, it is apparent option 1 is the most long-term, most financially feasible solution to Washington County. The question is, do we agree with that study?
So,
We haven't agreed, we haven't voted on, we just taken this study and put it place it on file.
so what's the point of agreeing with it or not at this point?
Well, we're either gonna use the study or not use the study.
Okay, so it's more of an approval than an agreement, but okay, I get what you're saying. So the next question is, and it's only 3 minutes, is why vote at this point with the majority of the board turning over?
I stated, sir, that I've tried to have this on the agenda for 3 months. It was nothing to do with who's coming up or anything. I wanted to have this study voted, so that's why I've been trying to get this on the agenda. I wasn't gonna just let it die or anything like that. It has nothing to do with new board members coming on, old board members going off. I've been trying to propose this, and I sat down with the county attorney. He agreed that this agenda item would work, So that's why I put it on, it's able to get it on there.
I don't concur with you, but
The
Well,
other,
that's the facts, I'm sorry, that's the facts. Whether you concur or not concur, those are the facts. Otherwise, all we have is opinions here, but that is a fact.
yeah, the other situation we have is whether people like it or not, this board is the legally seated board. They are the elected officials for the county until January 5th. So any,
until January fifth,
January 5th is when the new board members are sworn in.
I thought it was the first thing.
January 5th is when the new board members are sworn in. So this is a legally seated board until January 5th. They have every right to bring up whatever they want to bring up and vote on whatever they
Well,
want.
there's one citizen I'm opposed to, so the others, others.
Appreciate your,
Thank you for
appreciate
your
your
time.
input.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Surya.
if I might, Mr. Kruger alluded to a study that was done in 2015, when the opportunity at that particular point by that jail committee to bring forth this proposal was in order, and it was not brought forward. So the issue was just kicked down the road for future jail committees or future committees to deal with. And now we're coming to a point where we're coming to the end of a year, and all of a sudden, we need to make a decision. I think the decision should have been made back in 2015. And at that particular point, the information that I received and read in the newspaper is that that seated jail committee at that particular time didn't want citizen involvement because they were worried about issues dealing with the color of carpet that was going to be laid down in the jail. And thus, no citizens were involved in that particular function or at that particular time. Until later on in 2016, when the Citizens Advisory Committee was formed by this board, and then you had 19 or 20 citizens involved in that committee that came up with a recommendation. And that recommendation sat without any action being taken on it. And now we have, with the Greenfield site to be the site of choice. And now just as we come down to the end of the year, we're going to go back to what Prohaska recommended. I would rather have seen that decision come out of the jail committee in 2015 at that particular time than wait until today when this is being brought forward. So I strongly object to the motion, and I object to the idea that we're, and I don't think that, as Mr. Kruger alludes to, we want to accept the study. We've already accepted the study.
Just place it on file, sir.
It's already been placed on file. It's already been approved.
We did not take any action on
And
this.
this, I think, would be construed as saying, this is what this board chooses to do. And I think that's the wrong impression.
Taking an action on the study is a different motion, Mr. Kruger, than selecting an option.
For clarification, I thought the motion was to take action on option one. I thought that's what we were looking at.
Agree with the study. That's my
No,
There's a
that-
difference to me between agreeing with a statement that an architectural firm placed in a preliminary concept than taking action on which option the county is going to pursue. Those are two totally separate issues. So what is your motion intending to do? Take action on which option to proceed with, or agree or disagree with a particular statement in a concept plan?
Make a motion.
To concur or not concur with the preliminary concept plan and select option one, building on site as a solution for future inmate housing.
Then I would request or place a motion that we separate those two. That's two separate motions, not one.
Concur with, or not concur with the preliminary concept plan and select option one, building on site as a solution for future inmate housing.
I'd say most financially feasible solution for the future.
Okay.
Agreed, but prior to the word "and" is one consideration, and after the word "and" is another consideration. So I would move that we separate those into two separate motions.
Mr. Kirby, would like to restate your motion?
No, I think my motion is that we are agreeing with the preliminary concept plan, that option one is the most current, option one is the most long-term, most financially feasible solution for Washington County. That's what we're agreeing here to.
Mr. Chairman, I think if we look back at the record, I think we've already agreed to accept the study,
Not an
to
actual
accept this
motion on the
study, this
study.
concept plan. And I think that
We're not accepting the study, that's not what this motion does.
But we are.
Agreed.
we are.
To agree with the study, not accept the study, we're agreeing with it.
As option one being the most
Right.
feasible option.
Does option one include cost for placing the sheriff's department elsewhere while that area is renovated?
The option that's listed here
That's a
by the
question, sir.
professionals, by Prohaska is all right there.
I understand, what I'm asking the question is whether that encompasses the cost of having the sheriff's department displaced during the construction phase.
You have to understand that the preliminary, what has been done is the needs assessment. That is a design, or not a design concept, it's strictly a concept for that purpose. It has nothing to do with what the actual design of the facility will be.
We can't know which is the most fiscally responsible option if we don't discuss what it includes. And if it doesn't include displacement of the sheriff's department during construction, then we don't know how to vote on this matter. All the information is not present.
I would assume when they provider went through the options and came up with this option, that Prohaska was considering that. So they have a cost in that option.
As I stated earlier, Mr. Chairman, I think that the original jail committee was remiss in the fact that they didn't bring this option forward when they finished their study of the Prohaska plan. Now, in the long run, what this did is cost us time, and it cost us more money. So now, all of a sudden, we need to make a decision. I object to that, and I would urge my fellow board members to, if that motion does have a second, to vote that motion down.
Dan,
Dan Flynn,
3 minutes.
Washington County. I too was a member of the advisory council, so let's cut to the chase. You guys already paid Prohaska some money, and I'm talking facts here, Mr. Kruger, that's what you want to hear, let's listen to them. You guys paid Prohaska to go this far. The jail committee, advisory committee decided on the Greenfield site, we put the ball back in your court, we got our job done early. What we were expecting you guys to do was complete that, and so the figures would be there, so we can talk hard money. Because those of us that sat in the committee and studied it, all the way out to the costs, even though we knew this Greenfield site thing had to be entered in there so we could figure the exact cost, that hasn't been done. You guys haven't completed that. What you told us is there's no place to build it. We just saw that's not true. We also know that 18.35 acres listed by NP Dodge that has signs on there, Carl, that was almost on that picture you took from the airplane. If you'd have driven by on Wilbur Street, you'd have seen those signs there. 18.35 acres right there, again, with water, sewer. So all of us on the committee, I'm speaking for myself, but I know a lot of people wanted to see the final figures. And they also wanted the knowledge shared with the public of what we planned on doing in this building, moving other offices over here. You guys haven't shared that information from the committee report very well at all with the community. If we're still arguing about stuff that happened in March of 2015, and we're going to take the last meeting in the last month of this year with you 4 members leaving and run this through, and I see a lot of incoherency up here. You guys don't know what the costs are. You have not established a Greenfield site. We cannot present this to the public. We cannot give them those 4 options and let them decide because you haven't completed your task. And now you want to fall back on March 2015 and say you've been trying to get this through forever? That doesn't seem even possible. So I would urge, this would probably be the stupidest thing you guys could do to vote for this right now, okay? Go ahead and do it. Go ahead and do it. At least they're going to have some place to build. But just like Everybody else was saying, we're locked into this forever. And we're already up at those numbers where we would be full today with 60. If you want to put this off another 4 or 5 years, this problem is not going away. We already know what the state's done. Defund corrections. It's putting pressure back here, just like they've done on education and everything else. If we're not able to handle this problem in our local community, and we already investigated the money and everything, it's very feasible. I think you guys do not want to get to that point where we could show the public exactly what this would cost on comparison on every one of these options. And I believe that's why this is being run through today. That's why a lot of people are here. Thank you.
Steve?
Next board in about 10 days. I'm not here to speak on any of the merits of the jail options. I believe that that discussion is better suited for another day. I'm here to address the propriety of the proposed action today. Does it pass the smell test? Is what is being pursued here today authentic and credible? 95. Just what exactly does that number represent? Since the Prohaska report was issued exactly 4 years ago, there have been 95 board of supervisor meetings that have come and they've gone. Now we're at meeting 96. It is the final chapter and verse for the 7-member board. 5 of the 7 supervisors have had 95 opportunities to address this issue and move a solution forward. This issue has become the true definition of kicking the can down the road. After 95 opportunities, in my mind, it's disingenuous to create this fake sense of urgency that we have been, that we're seeing here tonight. When there's been absolutely no sense of urgency for 1,460 days. There is no doubt that the next board will be solving this issue. Since it is that board that is going to be doing all the heavy lifting on this subject, they should have all the options on the table, all the facts. There's absolutely no value in this 11th hour action. This board has had ample opportunity to establish a direction. Any direction would have been welcome. Again, 95 meetings have come, 95 meetings have gone. Today, as the current sitting board, you do have every right to take action on this issue. However, just because you can do something doesn't make it right. The citizens of the county, the folks who voted you on this board, or perhaps voted you off this board, demand that the county's business be conducted in a selfless manner. Bottom line, any action taken today is really a true moot point. Certainly this board can do anything it wants. Equally, the next board is not bound by anything that happens here tonight. So more or less, anything that happens here is a recommendation. So to be crystal clear, the next board will set the direction. That board is free to pursue any of the jail options that it sees fit. The lame duck board, acting at the 11th hour on a contentious subject, is pure petty politics. More in tune with Washington, D.C. than Washington County. With the election results of the past year, the citizens of this county spoke with great clarity on the culture of this board. They're not happy. The citizens of the county are fed up with the petty politics that they've been exposed to. With that in mind, I would urge this board to vote no on the proposed action. Thank you.
Trimpe, T-R-I-M-P-E, and I am not naive enough to think that what I say here is going to change the outcome of this vote. But I am here to address a letter to the editor posted in the December 23rd issue in the Enterprise. It was written by Supervisor Highlight, and the misinformation included in that letter made me think that if this is the way that the whole board is thinking, or at least the majority of the board, I would like to address some of those. And as you say, I hope the new members look over the facts next year. Let's look over the facts right now. The Citizens Committee did not consult or ask any questions of the county supervisors. That's in the second paragraph. I would like to thank Supervisor Kramer and Serio right now for all of your help and assistance during the Citizens Advisory Committee and answering all the questions that we had. It was very appreciated. The third paragraph says, this was the district court judge, county court judge, or county attorney have not requested a new building. This was the Sheriff's Citizens Committee and Prohaska and Associates that recommended the jail. As is mentioned, the preliminary concept planning report was handed to the board on March 10th, 2015. That was made available for the Citizens Action Committee. And in that, it clearly states that in option number 2, courts, court support, county attorney offices, law enforcement offices are all in the proposed benefits. In the next paragraph, you state that I will not vote for an off-site complex. While we were in one of those meetings, Mike Anderson directly asked me, would you support the recommendation of the Citizens Action Committee? And you stated yes. And now it is in the paper in black and white. Are you going back on your word?
No, I accepted it, and that's what we did as a board. I said I'd accept whatever they had to be taken to the board.
It was clear as day. That was not to ask if you would accept that we would do it.
Mike
It was,
Anderson
will you
also
vote?
said at the same meeting, when I said I wouldn't go for the nickel tax, that was the only time that I responded to anything while I was in a meeting. And Mike Anderson said, that's what you get the big bucks for, you should do the nickel tax. And right now, I have said in public, I will do what the people in my district are telling me, and that's vote against anything but an on-site.
That is contrary to what I heard as a member of the Citizens Advisory Committee. And in the next paragraph, you state that the jail can be rebuilt on the courthouse property with about 1/3 of the cost. With the proposed cost of option number 1 being a little over $12 million, that puts the Greenfield site at $36 million. I'm not sure the parcel of land that you may have had in mind, but option number 2 for the Greenfield site has a proposed price of $15.2 million plus site acquisition. Say we find $1 million. That puts it right around $60 million. Option number 1 is 80% of option number 2. A far cry from 1/3 of the cost. Would you like to respond to any of the misinformation that's put out there?
You thanked Paul and Lisa for responding. The time, and I sat in all the meetings but one, and at the time that I was at the meeting, I wasn't asked any questions directly. Not one.
I believe that we've
I-
already proven that to be false with you responding to Mike Anderson during that one meeting.
That's why, but that wasn't to a question. He said that they were gonna ask for a Greenfield site and, or not a Greenfield, that they didn't want it to go to a bond issue because Prohaska said a bond issue won't pass. And he says we've gotta go with a nickel tax, and I said I wouldn't vote for the nickel tax, and I doubt if the board would.
Todd, he's not on trial here, okay? Go ahead and make your statements.
Okay, well, if he's gonna put misinformation in the paper, I'm gonna come and ask for answers.
Okay.
Give me a call. I'll give you all the answers you want.
I'll yield whatever time I have. Mike Anderson again. To be clear, we were no farther apart at that meeting as we are right now, and I looked you right in the eye and I said, and what I said, I didn't say you get paid big bucks.
You did.
What I said is I said, they take money out of my wallet and they put it in yours to make decisions, and that's true with every one of you, by the way. You all get paid to make a decision here, and to kick the can down the road or to kick it to the public is, in my opinion, again, wrong. And I asked you directly if you would support the board's recommendation, and you said yes. You said it hesitantly.
Yes.
But you said yes.
I will. Whatever was there, I only had one choice, and that was to accept it. I was there, if you guys asked me a question, I answered it, and I did answer, and I said I would accept whatever they had. That didn't mean that it was coming back here and gonna get voted on. You didn't say anything about that, you just said, would you accept it? I said, yes, I'll accept it.
The whole
And
process.
I'm still standing on the same thing. We didn't approve the thing, it has to go to the board and be approved. And I wasn't approving it, but I said, whatever you guys decide, a green site or whatever, we don't have any check, I didn't have any vote, we don't have any option to accept.
The entire premise of that question was based on when it gets to the board and it goes to a vote, will you and the other two board members, I asked them the same question, would you vote in the affirmative for a greenfield site, and you responded yes.
And they said yes, and they're for it, and I'm not for a greenfield site, and I haven't been, since I saw most of the studies come in. It was too expensive.
Mr. Chairman, I know you said that this supervisor is not on trial here, and I understand that, but however, he took this to the public full of complete misinformation, complete falsehoods, okay, complete about that, about what the jail committee study recommended, and Todd has gone over those, and I concur entirely with what Todd has said, and I think we have a right to discuss this here based on the fact that we are being, at least in my eyes, maligned by Mr. Heinlein, Chairman Heinlein, and so I wanted to address that here and now. Thank you very much.
John?
John Orr, 5139 County Road B37 Blair. I'm also, as you know, Washington County Republican Chair, and it's not very often that the chairman of Washington County Republicans agrees 100% with the chairman of the Democratic Party. But I do.
I'm no longer.
Well,
Thanks,
past chairman.
Thanks,
I agree with what Dan said. I think that, I know you guys have your minds made up, I'm not gonna change your minds, but that I think it's pretty short-sighted to look at building a jail right on this site. You're building a jail for today, not for 5 or 10 or 15 or 20 years down the road. And with no real thought of expansion. You guys are leaving, you won't no longer be on the board. So I think we need to think about the future. That's why we have a jail committee. That's why the jail committee unanimously, and they took their job seriously. I talked to them many times during the time, and they were very, very much involved. And I think it's very short-sighted to build a jail for today. To save a couple of bucks, I know it's taxpayer money. I'm the first one to say, let's, money coming out of my pocket, money coming out of grandma's pocket, out of some retiree's pocket, but it's short-sighted. That's going to cost us in the long run. Thanks.
Brad Anderson, 947 Skyline Drive. I also serve on the Citizen Jail Advisory. And I guess my question is more directed towards the county attorney a little bit here, because I appreciate Mr. Kruger finally taking some action on the study that perhaps was done long past due, that the sheriff has needed something to happen here. Vote on this tonight to accept their recommendation. But my question is, if one of the new board members or a current board member would bring and vote on the citizens advisory recommendation, which would take precedent?
The latter.
Thank you.
My name is Dennis Oak. My address is 13990 County Road 992. I was on the jail committee also. When I went into that jail committee, I kind of felt like Mr. Heinlein. I wanted to see it built on the site itself. But after many hours of deliberation and understanding and hearing the facts, my mind was changed because of the fact we have a historical site here. When you take and destroy the outer area, the trees, build a new parking lot, put the new two-story jail site in, you're going to take away from ours. We will have no historical site here. They're going to have to build up to go in on the floors to the courtroom. I mean, I personally am against raising taxes, but after understanding the need for the jail and what the need in the future for the jail would be, my mind was totally and completely changed for the fact that if you build on a green site, you not only will have the modern jail, where you will never have here, you can paint an old truck, but it's still going to be an old truck. When you build on a green site, which is not going to be that much more, and we've proven that, Mr. Mayor, you're going to have a lot better jail. We're gonna have an opportunity to hold other people's, or other counties and jurisdictions, prisoners also, which will give us an income on the jail. Instead of paying out money all the time and having a prisoner taken over. All I've got to say is, this is the last opportunity you have to uphold what the citizens really want, even though a lot of people are against taxes. We have to do something, and you have the opportunity to make that decision today. Or you can go out, you can either smell like a rose or you can smell like the other end, but whatever, hey. That's all I've got to say. I just would appreciate if you take the consideration, understand that this is a need we have to have, and medicine's hard to take, but we need to increase the jail and put it on our inside. Thank you very much.
I got one question for you.
Yes, sir.
So, there's been the consultants like to throw this number around, and they want to say, well, you can take other prisoners from other jurisdictions. Other jurisdictions are charging $45, $55, $55, whatever, something like that. But there's
More
a
like
reason.
$100, sir.
But there's a reason that Douglas County charges their PD that's to cover the costs.
Well, I understand that, but it's also, it is also, I was in law enforcement, so I know about this. They also get an income from that. And maybe it's a small income that will help in feeding of the other prisoners. It's an income to the sheriff's department, no matter how you look at it. And you can twist it around and say, well, there is an income, and as long as we can take other prisoners and keep them here and get the money for them, it's a lot better than having to pay it out.
And that would be a true statement. I'm just saying, you need to be on the upper end of the range if that's what you want to do, rather than on the lower.
Well, I understand. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, is this motion a referendum on the preliminary concept plan proposed by Prohaska and Associates? Or is this to move our county forward to build a jail? Because those are two separate questions in the same motion. And if the intent is to discredit the preliminary concept plan, to sever that relationship somehow, that needs to be voted on separately.
You clarify what you just said. Severing the relationship.
If your intention is to vote to concur or not concur with the concept plan provided by Prohaska and Associates, in order to, or with the intention of using that to sever the contractual relationship with them, that needs to be voted on separately. If, on the other hand, this is simply a decision about whether to pursue option 1, 2, 3.
Washington County law enforcement detention centers, yes, it has taken us a while to get to that, I will agree it's taken longer than it should have taken. But in the preliminary time, one of the main things was close the transport. We didn't have any hard, maintain a transport, we didn't have hard numbers in our budget. So if we're to proceed forward, and that's the whole thing, well, however we're gonna proceed forward, some people say we're kicking this down the road, and if we vote no on this, we're just gonna be kicking this down the road more. But the purpose was to find out for hard numbers, when we go to the public for a vote on what the public's willing to support. Whether they're willing to support even building a jail in this county. We have to have defined numbers so that people know, okay, you guys really did. You aren't just taking the words of a professional company that you hired. You have also researched it to the point and you've come up with this solution. Sure, it's taken, I think, 95 minutes or meetings or anything like that. I don't keep track of it. But it's taken a long time to get the hard numbers on the maintain and transfer. Like I said earlier on, I already checked with, and Rob and I met earlier on with Douglas County. We started before we hired Prohaska. We met down there and asked about what it cost down there, and that's what they suggested. So in order for us to agree with Prohaska, I think it was very important this board research this preliminary study. Now maybe it took a little longer than some people appreciated or hoped for, but the whole purpose of my motion is to say either we're going to use this study, which says the following of the study, all four options, it is apparent option 1 is the best long-term best long-term, most financially feasible solution for Washington County. Either we're gonna use this study, or we're gonna throw it out with the dishwater and start all over again with another firm. So.
So that
I'm not-
does
no, hold on.
imply you
I didn't interrupt you when you were speaking. So that is my motion, is to concur with the preliminary concept plan, that option one is, building on site is the most financially feasible solution. I don't use the exact word verbiage they did for future inmate housing in Washington County, because that's what we were looking for. We have a problem with inmate housing, period, and transporting the inmates to the court. Those are our two things. That's what the jail committee studied, that's what we're working on. I met several times with the sheriff, I met several times with the hospital group. It all came down to how can we house inmates in this county and get them safely transported. Those are the two questions, inmate housing and how are we gonna transport inmates to the sheriff. Option one was based on that, and so again, it's either we're gonna use this study and agree with it, or we're not gonna use this study and move on to something else. So that's what my purpose of my motion.
Then, Mr. Kruger, why don't you retract the original motion and state the motion just as you stated it right there? I make a motion that we use Prohaska study, period. Second motion.
Motion to concur with the preliminary concept of plan, option one, building on site is the most financial. I'm just defining what option one is. I could just say, you know, option one, 60 bed, I didn't use their words, I just said option one. So it's, you know, I'm conferring, either we're gonna use this or not.
I do not believe, Mr. Chairman, that the board has the full information necessary in order to make that decision. Not the financial implication information or the legal information implication.
Well, Prohaska, the professionals made that recommendation based on this report, so. You're now saying that Prohaska did a false thing on it, presented a false study, didn't complete the study, or something like that. That's what they're doing. This is not my verdict, this is Prohaska's verdict. I was very clear to the county attorney that that's what I was trying to proceed with, and that's why it's stated in the agenda item, exactly the verbiage from Prohaska, not mine. Some people thought that that was mine, but it is not mine.
Question to the county attorney, on the opinion you rendered, if this board votes to go with option one, build on site, as per Mr. Kruger's motion presented, and you said the next board can then overturn that decision, is that correct?
Well, I think there's two things. I understand what Steve's saying, I get what Lisa's saying as well. My understanding when Steve and I spoke was regarding voting for is option one of the plan, vote yes or no for that option. If what we're talking about is the plan itself, then I would probably suggest that you break that up. Are you voting against the plan, or are you voting for the plan, and then you're voting which option? As far as does a action now bind another board, the answer, and we've dealt with this with other actions, is no, it does not. Another board could come back, especially with new members, and they could bring the item up and they could re-vote on that until such time as something is completed, I suppose.
And then if people didn't like that, then we could bring it up again and vote again?
Well, that's not necessarily true.
How many times can you vote on something like that?
Well, there's a changeover of the board, Mr. Chairman, and we actually had this issue come up when we had the dealings with the wage issues last year, where prior boards had done some things that we had to turn around and fix. So a board couldn't keep just itself bring it up, but this is a change from one board to another. So the question that I assume you're asking is anything this board does binding on another board? And the answer is no, and I think like I said, I know we've dealt with that issue, and I believe we all concurred that it didn't because we had to vote to change things with prior boards last year. So I don't think that's a surprise.
That was because the action was not proper, as I recall.
Well, that was part of what it was, but it wasn't binding on us. And I know Mr. Kruger and I have spoken about whether or not things are binding on future boards, and I don't think that that's the case. Now, if you're asking the question is, can the new board continue to vote on, well, they cannot, but that's because it's the same board. So if that is the question you're asking, that's, I guess, how I would answer it.
So in other words, you're working in 2-year intervals on actions?
No, because obviously, if something is done on it, you couldn't, like, let's say you voted today a new board votes something different, and there is the start of something, okay, the construction or whatever the case is, you couldn't have a new board come and say, yeah, we're gonna get rid of all of that. Then you can't do that part of it. But right now, what you're doing is saying, again, whether it's the plan or not, I don't understand, because we have liability, and whether or not we're rejecting something from an expert we hired, we have liability there, which is something I can't discuss clearly out here. But, you know, that has to be a question that's answered. The question is something that is done, you know, does it force another board? The answer, I believe, is no, from what we've already done.
Mr. Chairman, if I understand Robert's Rules of Order correctly, at this point in time, I believe we can request a closed session, and maybe it would behoove us to do so in order to protect the liability of the county.
I see no apparent reason for that. I think the good citizens of the county need to know what we're talking about.
I think
And
they
that's
are
why
getting a
I don't think there is, with what I stated, that there, you know, we're just, are we accepting this study, you know, what it says?
I don't think that could be discussed, it can be discussed in open session, whatever they want.
Well, is the way I understand the motion, either we're gonna go ahead and continue on with option one, as it says, the one site, 60-bed law enforcement center, courtroom renovation, and so on and so forth. If that's what this current board wants to do, that will be their statement, and I guess the board can go ahead and do what they want to do.
That is not the entirety of the motion. The other portion of the motion is a referendum on Prohaska and Associates preliminary concept plan, which is where I believe we are going to create a potential liability issue.
I disagree with that. I think it's clearly that we're not doing anything about the study.
Who's making that recommendation, sir? Prohaska has done it, and Prohaska has done that when, sir? Before we as a jail
In this
committee looked
study,
at it?
in this study on March 10th, or March 15th. when-
Of
March
2015.
Yes.
And so then, what was the purpose to waste my evening?
So, we'll get a committee together, we'll get some options, and we'll decide on what option is the best. So in other words, you had the choice to say, no, we're not gonna have a committee. You took the choice to say, yeah, we're gonna take the committee and we're gonna really seriously consider what their choice is, or what their decision is. But then you go back and you go, well, wait a minute, we don't like that choice either, so we're going back to 15, the first choice we had at the beginning. I mean, to me, it makes no sense. And I mean, I don't know what you guys, I don't care. But the whole thing is, you've got to look at what's feasible, and just like I said the last time, you can putty a truck up, you can paint it, and it's a new truck, right? No, it's not. It's an old truck, and before long, you're going to have fixes on that. If you build a new site, you've got a new site with new equipment, new fixtures, built properly now, so that they don't plug the drains, and if they do, they can go in there and they can take care of that without bothering the whole department. I mean, we looked at all these options, and we decided that realistically, if they need to do something, we need to have a jail that will accommodate what needs to be done. The new jail will. The old jail, no matter how you paint it or how you build onto it, it will never be operable to the point the new jail will be. And if there's that little amount of money difference, or at least, let's go back and talk about getting a green site. Let's look at the options. You don't have to make a decision tonight. Let's go back and make a recommendation. Do we check out some of these green sites? I'm sorry, that's all I have to say. Thank you very much.
Okay, the questions have been called for, and on the vote of the Kruger's.
Mr. Chairman, the question that was called for was to end discussion. We need to vote on that. It doesn't require a second. It
Right.
requires two-thirds majority of the board in discussion.
So the question has been called for to.
Second.
Okay, Cassie Gottlieb.
Can I address the board just real quick? I do think there's an easy fix if you were to just separate those so that we understood whether you're voting against or for a plan that has 4 options, and then if you're voting for option 1 or whatever the case is. So just as that is for clarification, I think it's an easy fix. Combining the two it appears that there's problems or whatever, just separate them and then you
I
can
guess
vote on each one.
we discussed this, kind of.
We did,
And I voted, you know, and.
but that's for an open meetings, that's, if there's confusion about what the motion is, then just amend your motion. If you're gonna try and pin me down,
No, no, no.
it qualified for open meetings, sir. So now people are saying it's confusing, which
Did
is.
you need to abstain?
I sure as heck did.
Okay, Lisa abstains. 5 members voting aye, motion